What is up, YouTube? We are here for our NFL Week 16 predictions with Alex Carmenaty. This is an amazing week of football. We're down to the final 3 weeks of the NFL season, guys. Um, some really good games. Uh, standings are going to be heavily affected based on the games this week. So let's get right into the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's go. Okay, so Alex, the first game I want to get into, Thursday night football, two 7-7 teams. We got the Saints, Rams. What do you got on this one?
Well, you know what, Jason? This is actually going to be a decent Thursday night football game because these two teams are fighting for a wide open playoff spot in the NFC. And look, I mean, you know that Frisco is going to get a spot. You know Dallas is in. You know Philly's in. You know Detroit's in. But the Saints could win their division. The
Yeah.
Buccaneers have the lead. The Rams are fighting for a wild card spot. So is Green Bay and Minnesota. So this is going to be a really intriguing game to kick off Week 16. And honestly, this could go either way. I think the Rams are favored, and as they
Yes.
should be. I think the Rams are the better team.
Yeah.
And the past couple weeks, they've been just so dominant on the offense, whether on the road or at home.
Yep.
And even though they lost to Baltimore, I mean, heck, they put up 31 points and lost by 6 in overtime. So the Rams are playing really good football right now.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford's back to his old self. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have been rock solid. You know, this has been a really, really good showing for this Rams offense, and that's really what's getting them over the hump. On top of the fact that Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald, and he's
Yeah.
doing Aaron Donald things again with his defense being solid. So even though I think it's going to be a close one, I think it'll be within 7 to 10 points. I go with the Rams because they're the better team. Now, sure, both teams are 7-7, but the Rams have just been more consistent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The Saints, the problem with them is that Derek Carr, when he's playing, gets hurt again. And Jameis Winston hasn't been terrible, but the Saints defense has been atrocious.
Yep.
So you see all these different factors for New Orleans. It all depends on A, who's right, B, if they're confident enough to play good, and C, are they playing good to begin with?
Yeah.
So the Saints, you're not sure what you're getting game in and game out. At least with the Rams, I'm getting a solid showing on both sides of the
Yep.
ball, win or loss. New Orleans could get blown out in this game. So, we'll see what happens in this contest. We're getting one or the other, obviously. I think the Rams are going to win this game. I think the Saints will make it interesting. I think
Yeah.
they're going to fall short. But at the end of the day, the Rams will finally get above 500. And honestly, look, I mean, again, like I said already, they're the better team. They're more consistent. The defense will definitely play a role. And when this Rams offense is scoring 20, 30 points a game, and the Saints defense is giving up a whole bunch of points, that's the deciding factor right there. So
Yes.
give me LA. They're going to beat New Orleans.
I'm gonna take LA. You brought up the key point of you don't know what you're gonna get out of the Saints. You don't know if Carr is gonna make it through the whole game healthy. You just never know. Look, Kamara's been a bright spot. We still don't know if Olave's playing. I believe he was banged up last week. That's a big loss. Um, look, the Rams just look good. Stafford's been playing well. Nakua looks good. Kupp looks good. As we've been saying, Kyron Williams looks amazing. This kid is so good and he's so fast. He really is. He's a nightmare to deal with for these teams. So yeah, I do think the Rams win this game, making it a lot harder for the Saints to win this division. Although maybe not, but the thing is, if the Saints lose this game, I don't, and the Bucks somehow win. The Saints aren't gonna win out. They're not gonna win their last 2 games. They're just too inconsistent to win 2 straight, in my opinion. We'll see, but I doubt it.
Well, look, I mean, not just that, but keep in mind in week 17, guess who's playing each other? Tampa Bay and New Orleans in
It's a
Tampa
huge
Bay.
game. That is
So
true.
that is a big game. The Buccaneers have the home field in that matchup. And look, I mean, I've bashed Baker, but he shut me up last week with how he embarrassed my Packers. I mean, he had more than 300 passing yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. Baker's playing solid, coming off a great win last week. The Buccaneers are playing good right now. And, with their matchups, especially with New Orleans and Carolina to end the season,
Yeah.
the cards are in their favor.
No,
So
you're right.
I think when we look at it now, and especially with the Falcons blowing a game to Carolina and really, taking a whole bunch of steps backwards, I think Tampa's going to win this division. And if New Orleans somehow gets in, they'll just sneak in with that wild card spot.
Yep.
But like I said before, It's LA, it's Minnesota, it's Green Bay, it's New Orleans, and Seattle, 5 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots.
Yep.
And the way it looks right now, the Rams will definitely get in.
Yeah.
That second spot could still be up for grabs, but I don't see New Orleans getting it compared to a team like Seattle, who just had a
Yeah.
massive win versus Philly this week.
Yep. No, 100% agree with you. I do think this will be one of the better Thursday night football games though that we've had so far this year.
I mean, it better be because last week's game was atrocious. I mean, it was 63-7 at one point.
Yeah.
So if that game does not top last week's, then we really got a problem here.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. We move in though to one of the two games on Saturday. Uh a big game for the Bengals, a division matchup. Steelers trying to keep this season alive, really. We got Bengals, Steelers. What do you got here?
Look, Jake Browning's been really good. He's really keeping the season alive. And many would have thought once Burrow got hurt, all right, they're done, season's over. But Jake Browning is really shutting up those doubters. And look, I mean, I thought that. I'm sure you thought that. I'm sure many thought, all right, the
Yeah.
season's over. They'll tank. They'll get a good pick. No, Jake Browning's saying, hey, don't count me out. I'm
Yeah.
playing good with Jamar Chase
Yeah.
also. And not just that, I mean, they have a wild card spot. And with that in mind, with how bad they started this year, how back and forth they were, and then when Burrow got hurt to end the season, I mean, the fact that the Bengals are still in this,
It's
contest
very
for a playoff
impressive.
spot, it's impressive. It's really amazing. Pittsburgh's a joke. And look, I mean, the Steelers have just folded completely. You lost a game to the Patriots out of all
Yes.
teams at home, and then you blew a 13-point lead to the Colts in Indianapolis. So I look at all these different things. I mean, the Bengals have to win this game. I think they're
Yeah.
going to because they're the better team right now. Pittsburgh is really skidding fast. And I think the last 2 losses, especially versus Indy last week, I think that really summed up their season. I think
Yeah.
that really ended their season as well.
Yes.
So I don't see Pittsburgh winning this game. I
And
see
it's Mason
Cincinnati
Rudolph
winning.
now.
Well, yeah, it's Mason Rudolph also right now because Kenny Pickett's hurt. He's not great.
And
And
Trubisky
Mitch
sucks.
Trubisky is terrible.
Yeah.
So whether you got Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, or not, I mean, it doesn't make a difference because
No.
Jake Browning is playing very good. And again, like I said, he's building strong chemistry with Jamar Chase.
Chase
Joe
isn't
Mixon.
playing this week.
Okay, but you know what? He'll still have his chemistry with the rest of his receivers, and Joe Mixon's playing very well. So you know what? You look at this offense, Jason, and Jake Browning's building chemistry with all these different pieces, even a guy like Tyler
Yes.
Boyd. So put it all together. The Bengals are the much better team, and with how incompetently bad the Steelers' offense is, the Bengals' defense doesn't have to play the best game. So honestly, I think Cincy's going to rout Pittsburgh, and the Bengals are going to cruise to another victory.
I agree. Look, there hasn't been a lot of bright spots for the Philly team. Sorry, for the Pittsburgh Steelers lately. I don't know why I said Philly. Pittsburgh has not had a
Oh,
lot of
there's been
bright.
no bright spots for the Eagles also, so it
True,
kind of makes
true.
sense.
So yeah, it's kind of really a struggle right now for the Steelers. Their season has completely collapsed. At one point, you thought they'd probably make the playoffs, and the Bengals would be the team that's out right now. But it's completely taken a turn for the worse. They can't get any offense. Their one bright spot is Jalen Warren. That kid is incredible, but that's
Yeah,
really it.
yeah, but again, Jason, at what cost when your quarterback can barely throw the ball, whoever it is? And now that you're down to your third string quarterback, who, yeah, he's been around, but he's never been the guy. He's either had his moments where he's barely won them games or he's really struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost got. I mean, he got hit with a helmet by Myles Garrett. We all know that
Yeah.
mainly from Mason Rudolph. But besides that, I mean, there's not much to work with here. So, I mean, again, the Steelers' season is over, and their season
And
ended last week.
yeah,
Their
and you
season
see the
officially ended last week with an
and yeah,
embarrassing loss to the Colts.
and you see the frustration growing. You've seen it a couple times. George Pickens in the end zone, kind of freaking out. He's having a bit of a meltdown at times. That's not a good sign. There's just nothing going right there. And when that happens, there's going to be errors and botches just out of frustration. And it's a recipe for disaster. So I think the Bengals win this. They could actually win this by a pretty big margin. I just don't
Yeah.
trust the Pittsburgh offense right now.
Well, I mean, again, like I said, the Pittsburgh offense is going to be brutal. We all know that. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, they might put up 10, 13 points, whatever, but the Colts ran 30 on them last week. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals put up 20, 25, maybe 30 again for a second straight week at the expense of Pittsburgh's defense. So, look, I mean, Cincinnati's going to have a field day. I think they're going to win outright.
No, I completely agree on that. So yeah, Bengals win that and move to 9-6, and in my opinion, probably one win out from clinching the playoffs. I would probably say.
Well, look, I mean, again, that is a real dogfight too. I think they get in. I think Cleveland gets in. The question is, who's that other wild card? Does Jacksonville
I
truly
think,
melt away? Does Buffalo somehow get in? Does Houston, win the division, or do they sneak in? Do the Colts keep their streak alive? So it's not exactly similar to the NFC, but it is in the sense where you have all these different teams fighting for two or three spots.
yep, no, 100% agree. We move in though to the second Sunday game, a game that does not need a lot of covering because it's just going to be terrible. Blowout. This could be worse than the freaking Raiders Chargers game. Another ass kicking coming for the Chargers. We got the Bills Chargers here. What do you got?
Well, they've been promoting this game as the Christmas gift of the season. This is the ultimate coal stocking of the season. This is going to be a lousy football game where Eden Stick Stott, whatever the heck his name is, and this Chargers team is going to get embarrassed for a second straight week.
Yeah.
They stink. The
Yeah.
Chargers are awful. And I think last week's game proves how bad they are when they give up 63 points. They finally fire Brandon Stanley and they leave him in Las Vegas following that game. So, you know what? I mean, the Chargers suck. They're done. Their season's over. Justin Herbert's done for the year. All is lost. Buffalo was very impressive versus Dallas, and Dak
Yeah.
Prescott couldn't do a darn thing in upstate New York.
Yeah.
I think this Bills team is going to have a very convincing win. I think they're going to win by at least 20, 30 points. I mean, don't be shocked if they somehow put up 40. I mean, this Chargers defense is terrible.
Yeah.
With Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and Derwin James, the Chargers defense is one of the
You
worst in
know, I
football.
think it's one of the worst defenses I've seen ever with so many elite guys on it.
Yeah,
It's such a
exactly.
weird thing.
Those
It's
three guys alone who I just named are three elite defenders in this league. And the defense is one of the worst in the league, and they give up easily 30 points a game. So they are just ridiculous. So they're going to get killed. Josh Allen's going to have a solid game. Keep in mind, he'll throw a pick. That's the classic Josh Allen game
yeah,
where he might have a great game, but he makes one mistake, one pick is coming. I
yeah,
guarantee that. So regardless of that pick or not, he'll cruise. Buffalo will cruise. The defense will stop all over Stick. They'll break his sticks. They'll do whatever they have to do to win this game. They're going to blow them out.
yeah,
This is going to be the ultimate Christmas nightmare.
yeah.
And Buffalo is going to have a fun,
Yeah, not
have
too
lots of
much to
fun.
say on this one. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 40 to like almost maybe 10 game. I'll be nice and say 10 for the Chargers, but
I mean, heck, they put up 21 when they gave up 63, but those were garbage time points when the game was basically over.
yeah.
So maybe they get 10, maybe they get 20 again, but I know they're losing by at least 20 points.
Yes, agreed. We move into Sunday Night Football, the first 1 o'clock window game. Another game that probably based on how the teams have been playing lately don't need too much covering. We got Colts Falcons here. What do you got?
Indy. I mean, come on. Atlanta's melting away. And look, the Falcons were consistent for a period of time, but they're showing their true form. And what the big mess has been Arthur Smith controlling this offense and the fact that the Falcons aren't truly committed to a quarterback.
Yeah,
Sure, Desmond Ritter's not been the best, but be committed to him. He's your future if you see him in that facet.
yeah,
And he has more potential than Taylor Heineke does to be your long-term quarterback. So they've really failed him in that sense. On top of the fact that Gardner Minshew has been the savior for this team after the rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson got hurt and was done for the year after a couple of weeks.
yeah. One thing
So
I do want to say about that with the not being committed to a quarterback is I feel like constantly going back and forth. It hurts the quarterback kind of a little bit. That
oh yeah,
that
oh yeah,
knowing that you don't fully have trust in them when they're supposed to be the leader of your team, running the
right.
offense and all that stuff. That hurts. And to be totally honest, dude, look, yeah, they look like they had a shot to win the division to start the season. But dude, I understand he's had some bad weeks, but isn't making these mistakes supposed to be the growing like point and learning stuff that a young quarterback who's struggling needs to go through?
Yeah.
It is a
Well, look,
little dumb that they're not playing him more.
Well,
Or
look, I
sorry,
mean,
that they bench him for a bit. Sorry that they bench him. That's
well,
what I said.
look. I mean, sure, he's struggling and what have you, and you weren't expecting much from the Falcons to begin with this year. But something that you see even in college is that when they have this quarterback carousel and the team does terrible, the quarterback doesn't grow. If this is supposed to be the future of the program or the team, the franchise, whatever it is, commit to the guy for a full season. Whether you win or lose, see what he has.
And then decide next season. Don't do it
Exactly.
mid-season.
Exactly. So with that in mind, and also with in mind how the Colts have been so solid on the offense the past couple of weeks, they've just been so fun to watch. They
Yeah.
really have been. And Michael Pittman's going off, and even with the injuries to Taylor and to Moss, their running game is still phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sermon's been
Yeah.
great. So look, I mean, they've been playing very, very good. The Colts are on fire. I saw the game versus Pittsburgh. They blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think they're going to kill Atlanta. So you know what? Give me the Colts. And look, Jason, we talked about this before. I wouldn't be shocked if Indy actually does win that division.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's a small possibility because Jacksonville's still in front. The Texans are, you know, ahead, and they have the tiebreakers. But the Colts could win this division somehow. But at least for this week versus the Falcons, give me Indy.
Yep, I completely agree. I think they win by a pretty big margin as well. We move into the next game, and I need you to promise me we're not going to cover this one too much. This game is going to be horrendous. We got Commanders Jets.
Oh my goodness. Well, Aaron Rodgers got activated off the IR just to practice for the rest of the season, meaning we're not going to see him again in 2023.
Yeah.
Look, I honestly don't know because Zach Wilson could throw for 300 yards again, or they could get shut out. Or Sam Howell can have a great game and still they lose.
Uh,
Or Sam Howell can play mediocre and somehow they win off special teams.
these teams are
So
like the best at figuring out a way to lose a game. So yeah.
I don't know, but the Jets are the kings of losing in heartbreaking fashion. They have owned the Heartbreak Hotel since 1970. So, look, I mean, they are just an embarrassment. And the Commanders stink too. And Ron Rivera has 1 foot in the grave already. But with that in mind, the dead man has to walk somehow. And I think he's going to walk at least one more time this week when they beat the Jets. So give me Washington, but I hold my nose at the same exact time.
I'm gonna take Washington as well. Uh, when we finally get a week where Zach Wilson takes a step forward and then he reverts right back to his previous self. There's just no reason to have any confidence in him. And I'm gonna say it now, and hopefully next year for them, Rodgers could stay healthy because they are wasting Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
That kid is so talented, and they are just wasting him, and it's a shame.
Well,
So,
look, this ain't the first guy the Jets have wasted with their talent. I mean, there's a whole bunch of receivers, defensive
oh, there's a
players, you
list.
name
We'll
it,
be here for a
that we can
long
name.
time. Yeah, we'll be here
Mm-hmm.
for a while if we were to go into that.
But look, I mean, I think to move on, and I would like to move on, the Jets will lose.
Yeah, exactly. I think this could be a low scoring game. Could be ugly.
Yeah.
Um, because these teams actually have good defenses, and the quarterbacks suck. So it could be low scoring. But we move on to a division matchup that's actually pretty big and one of the first really, really besides obviously Thursday night football, really fun games of the week. Lions Vikings. What do you got here?
Big game. Give me Detroit. Look, I mean, the Lions came back to life last week, killed Denver at home, won by 25 points. Jared Goff, he's getting better when it comes to limiting his turnovers, but he still is having that issue. Regardless, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have been phenomenal with the run game. And you've known all season long that was going to be their
Yeah.
main, strength on the offense, the run game. And Montgomery has delivered even after the injury. Look, with that in mind, they're really doing great things. They're solid at home. The defense has been strong. They're getting tons of pressure to the quarterback. And look, Detroit had some floozy losses, but they're finally at 10 wins. And this is a division that they're going to win. Minnesota's not catching up. Green Bay's not catching up. Chicago definitely won't catch up.
Yeah, they blew
So
that chance,
they
Chicago.
did. I mean, all three of these teams did, really.
Yeah,
when they
we'll
had
get into
really,
it when
really
we
bad
discuss
losses.
those teams, but yeah,
No, no, yeah. I mean, look, I mean, the Vikings could have had a game in hand, or a game or two back, but they lost to Cincinnati. My Packers have lost two straight. I'll save that rant for later. And the Bears just stink. So look, I mean, Detroit's going to win this game. Now Minnesota's fighting for their playoff lives, but we look at Nick Mullins now as the quarterback. Josh Dobbs has just flamed out so badly, and
yeah.
it
Rest
tells
in
you a
peace to
lot
those
when
becoming the guy there talks that we had earlier in the
yeah.
season when we were like maybe next year he could become their guy if Cousins leaves. Rest in peace to those talks. That's over.
Yeah, I mean that conversation fell flat on his face in the man in a span of weeks, not even a full month. So, look, I mean when he does terrible in that lousy 3-0 win for them, and then the backup quarterback has to come in and they still lose to Cincinnati. Now, since he's a good team with their own backup quarterback right now, but regardless, they still lose that game. I mean, Minnesota's holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
And Detroit is coming off a big win and they feel confident again with this victory.
Yeah.
So Detroit's going to bounce off that, grab two straight wins, steamroll Minnesota. Vikings will drop to 7-8. That's it.
Yeah. Lions win this and officially lock up that division.
Yeah.
Um, I do think it will be a fun game. Lions games typically are. They're just a fun, energetic team to watch. St. Brown, Laporta, Montgomery, Gibbs. They're gonna be big pieces. They're gonna dominate this game for them. Uh, Justin Jefferson obviously is back for the Vikings, but he's not 100%, I don't think.
I mean, what gets me is that he comes back healthy, he gets hurt again. And now they're trying to keep him on life support to have this miracle run to just get in the postseason
Yeah.
somehow. I
In
mean,
a
is
run
this
that they won't win a single playoff game in.
right? And what gets me is that they start 1-4. Kirk Cousins plays great. He gets hurt, tears his Achilles. They trade for Josh Dobbs. He looks good for a while. Then he melts away. The injuries rack up again. Justin Jefferson's been hurt for the majority of this season with Cousins, without Cousins. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. And then when he comes back, he gets hurt again. So, look, I mean, this Vikings season has been so up and down to begin with. Maybe they get in, maybe they don't. But what's so incredible is that whether they have 10 wins or 9 wins or 8 wins, however many wins they finish the season with, if they make the playoffs and lose in round one, same result last year when they won 13 games and lost in round one to New
Yeah.
York, the Giants. So Minnesota's going nowhere. They're
Yeah.
going to lose this game. And if they make the playoffs or not, easy first round exit, easy miss. They won't even touch the divisional round.
Yeah, no. And I know you're rooting for the Lions in this game to give yourselves a little bit
No,
of
yeah.
help.
Well, look. I mean, Green Bay has to wake up. These last two losses are ridiculous. And, we'll talk about it later. But if we lose to Carolina, then I'm going to throw a hissy fit on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
This is a must
So,
win. Yeah. It's your
look.
season. It's your season.
Oh, no, it is. And this game and the next couple of games, one of them versus us on New Year's Eve, it's their season too.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have the advantage when it comes to the schedule, especially this week. So you got to wake up and go. And for Minnesota, they feel the same way, even though their schedule, is not in their favor. But regardless, they got to wake up and go. And this is do or die.
100%. We move in though to the next 1 o'clock game, and it was actually a game after seeing the Titans beat the Dolphins that I thought this would be a little interesting, but then Will Levis got hurt last week, and we don't know his status for this week. We got Seahawks Titans. What do you got here?
I think Seattle's got it, honestly. I mean, the fact that they came back the way they did, Drew Lock with a dime of a pass to Jackson Smith and Najibba, and the fact that they won that game the way they did, and with 6 seconds to go, they picked off Jalen Hurts. Seattle's alive, barely alive, but alive enough. And this Tennessee team is just not good. Now, sure, they had the win versus the Dolphins, but they blew a game to Houston. They probably should have won in overtime, or at least could have tied it. So you look at all of that. Tennessee is just not a good team. They've not been good all year long. They're going nowhere. Nothing's going to work out for them. The season's basically over. They're playing for pride. Seattle, like Minnesota, like Green Bay, not like New Orleans, like the Rams, fighting for their playoff lives. And Seattle's going to have more of a hunger after beating Philadelphia the way they did.
Yes.
And maybe Drew Lock is the answer. Maybe Drew Lock is not the answer. Drew Lock stepped up in the biggest moment of the game back on Monday Night Football last week.
Yep.
So they're going to need him to play good again. And on top of the fact that run offense is going to be a key difference. Kenneth Walker played phenomenal on Monday night. So if Seattle wins this game, they win this game off the run game and some, competency and some good play by Drew Lock. He doesn't have to throw 300 yards. He has to throw at least one touchdown pass, doesn't make a mistake, no picks, no fumbles. They're going to win the game. On top of the fact, Julian Love has been remarkable. He had 2 huge picks versus Jalen Hurts last
Yep.
week in that win at home. So both sides will have to step up for Seattle, and these key pieces, Walker, Lock, and Julian Love. Jordan Love hopefully plays well for Green Bay, but Julian Love has to really be on his A game again in the secondary. So if that happens, which I think it will, Seattle's going to have a cakewalk against Tennessee.
Yes, I agree. I'm taking Seahawks in this one after a monster win to keep the season alive, in my opinion, against the Eagles. The one thing I will say, and even if what's his name doesn't play, Levis doesn't play, you said they're playing for pride, and sometimes the one thing is a team playing for pride could be very dangerous.
Oh no, of course. Look. I mean, Tennessee has nothing to lose here, and whether Will Levis plays or not, they have nothing to lose again. And Levis actually has not been bad. He's had some really good moments. Not
Yeah,
sure he's had his miscues and what have you, but he's also had some really good moments for Tennessee, especially when they beat Miami a couple weeks ago. So I think with all of that in mind, Tennessee really has nothing to lose here. Sure, if they lose, they'll have a better pick in the draft, but look, I mean, maybe Levis is their guy at quarterback, maybe not. But if they can upset a team like Seattle and pick up a big win and really, complicate things even more for the NFC playoff
hey,
picture,
the one thing
they'd be
is,
more than happy with that.
sometimes teams in this scenario love to play spoiler.
Right, right. And
So,
and if you're Tennessee, why not go for that?
yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, I do think Seahawks, but I think the Titans are gonna be a team that comes in a little hungry themselves as well.
Right,
So we'll see
right.
what happens. It could
Yep.
actually be a close game because of that. Unless Malik Willis plays, that's a different story.
Well, I mean, whether it's Malik Willis or Timbuktu, I mean, there's going to be no shot regardless for Tennessee. But Will Levis will give them a good run for the money.
Yes, I agree. We move in to the second to last 1 o'clock game that you're praying goes good for you guys. It's Packers Panthers. What do you got?
Please, please, look. Christmas is awesome. I love Christmas. It's the birth of Christ. It's awesome. Christ is awesome. Christmas is awesome. Green Bay better win on Christmas. And I'll tell you this much. If they lose to Bryce Young, whoever the coach is now, and this terrible Carolina Panthers team, I'm going to be drinking a lot of eggnog and maybe some vodka to go along with it. So it's not going to be a fun night if they lose that game.
Uh,
But just get to 7-8. I don't care how you do it. Jordan
uh,
Love doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love just has to be competent. I mean, I just don't get it. Two
yeah,
and one to start the year, 6 touchdowns in 3 games. He falls off.
yeah.
4 wins in 5 games. Jordan Love looks phenomenal, throwing touchdown after touchdown, 300-yard games at home, on the road. You beat the defending Super Bowl champions in your home building. Love looks calm, cool, collected, looks so silky smooth in that win versus Kansas City. And then you lose to the
As soon
Giants.
as people start talking good about him, he goes back to what he was doing.
No, I know. And then you lose to Tommy DeVito, Johnny Fontaine, and the New York Giants. And then you get embarrassed by Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers at home.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to expect. I hope it's a win. Please win for my sanity and for the sanity of the state of Wisconsin. But at the same time, I think they're going to win. I hope they win. Now, what's ironic is that when I project them to lose, they win, and when I project them to win, they lose. So hopefully this changes for at least one time, and I hope that Green Bay wins the game. I think they're going to win the game because Carolina stinks,
Yeah.
but they've beaten Atlanta and Houston. So they have their 2 wins in very ugly fashion. And knowing Green Bay with how ugly they've been at multiple times throughout the year, something bad could happen. But I'm hoping that Green Bay gets their act together. And honestly, if this defense melts again after having a strong 5-week performance, or really, 5-6 week performance with Gary and Clark in the front seven, and even the secondary without Jair Alexander and so many other pieces. If Joe Barry folds again, fire him, please.
Yeah.
He's a defensive coordinator. He's been there forever. Fire him. I don't care if there are 2 games left. You fire Joe Barry. You can put in, Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin, for all I care, as the defensive coordinator. Fire Joe Barry if you lose this game.
Yeah.
But I think Green Bay is going to win. I
Yeah.
hope at least they
I
win.
agree. I think Green Bay wins this game. Carolina doesn't compare. Carolina only has the second win because they played Atlanta.
Right.
So, yeah. But we move on because we don't want you to have to talk about the possibility of the Packers losing to Carolina too much. We move into the last 1 o'clock game. A game that's actually kind of important to you. Browns-Texans. What do you got here?
That's a big game. And you know what? Houston barely beat Tennessee, and I really wasn't impressed with the Texans last week. Now, guaranteed Stroud was injured in case Keenum was the backup quarterback who played. But I am impressed with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
I'm actually very
I
impressed with
would
Joe
say the
Flacco.
Browns are the worst 9-5 team I've ever seen.
Yes and no. Now, look, they've had their moments, but they've won when it matters, mainly off special teams and Dustin Hopkins. But you know what? Joe Flacco is playing really good. He's actually doing really good with the Browns. And
Yeah,
in
it
the
makes
2
you
games
wonder about the future of Deshaun there. Does he
of
maybe?
course it does. And I'll touch that in one moment. But the fact that Joe Flacco has put them in a postseason picture after losing Deshaun Watson via the injury, after the other quarterback not being good, they bring old man Joe off the street, bring him to Cleveland, and he's won 2 straight games, and he's thrown 300 yards on one of them. So, look, I mean, he's just been solid. And honestly, he's building a strong chemistry already with Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I mean, that is more that you can ask for this Browns passing game. So Joe Flacco's been legit. I'm impressed with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
I'm
One thing I
impressed with
will
the Browns.
say, Alex, Deshaun Watson does not throw the ball to Cooper enough. So,
Well, look. I mean that's been the case, and also he's been injured, and also when he's played, he's been terrible.
yeah.
So look, I mean, this could be Joe Flacco turning the tables here for Cleveland, and maybe he gets a 1 or 2 year deal when the season's over if he keeps it up and they make some type of playoff run. I think this is the beginning of the end for Deshaun Watson. The problem is that the Browns are probably going to have to pay him that contract. They're going to have to buy him out
Yeah.
because no one's going to trade for that deal, and no one's going to trade for Deshaun Watson. One, because he's injured, and
Yeah.
2, he's not the same quarterback he was prior to the whole scandal. So at the same time, look, I think Joe Flacco, believe it or not, is the future quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, which is crazy to say, but he is the future quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I think with the way they played against Chicago and the way they've been playing ever since they brought him in, I think they're going to beat a Houston team that really stumbled last week, and we're still not sure about CJ Stroud's status.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, give me the Browns. Give me old man Joe.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Browns in this one as well. Only because look, it's a few days out from the game. We don't know what's going on. Look, I think if Stroud plays, I actually will go with the Texans, but we're not 100% sure yet. So, look, if Stroud isn't playing, Browns 100%. If he is, I actually will go Texans in that one.
I mean, it makes it more interesting, and it'll make it a really a more competitive game as it's supposed to be if Stroud is healthy. But honestly, look, and for my money, he's the rookie of the year. But CJ Stroud has really started to take a couple steps back, and sure, part of it's the injury. But I mean, against the Jets, I mean, it was not pretty. I mean, he
Yeah.
had under 30 passing yards in the first half, so that wasn't a good sign. On top of the fact that Joe Flacco, and again, say what you want about him, he's playing really good.
Yeah.
And he beat his old team in Baltimore. On top of the fact that he just beat the Bears in such dramatic fashion to keep the season alive and keep the playoff hope alive.
Yeah.
I think Cleveland's going to make the playoffs. I
Cleveland's going to be a
think
double-digit win team.
they are. And honestly, Jason, I think they're a lock for a wild card spot. Cincinnati will see. Houston will see. The Colts will see. Jacksonville, same thing. I think you can guarantee the Browns to be in the postseason this year.
Yeah.
I really do.
No, I agree.
And that's thanks to Joe Flacco.
Look, I agree. I will say for the Texans, no matter what happens with the remainder of the season, this is a successful season. We said it
yeah.
at the start of the season. We thought they'd be better this year, but probably like a 5-win team.
I mean, honestly, maybe 3 or 4. They've easily doubled the projected win total already,
Yeah,
whether they make the playoffs or not. Now, it would be disappointing if they missed
with
it
how they
after
were
all the
looking.
hype and how they were playing so good, especially with Stroud. But even if they do miss it, you still take a lot of positives away from this season.
Yeah.
And your rookie quarterback will be rookie of the year, at least offensively, and should be period. So you take those positives as they come, but at the same time, you know, there should be higher expectations for this year at least, and there will be definitely higher expectations next season, no
Yes.
matter what happens this year.
I will say next year they win the division. But yeah, I just think next year it's going to be an even better year for them. Like you just said. Okay, so Alex, we move into the first game of the 4 o'clock window, 4:05. A big game. Two teams trying to solidify their spot as their division winners. We got the Jaguars versus the Bucks. What do you got here?
Well, that's a big game indeed. And you know what? Tampa Bay is more realistic to solidify their slim lead than
Mm,
Jacksonville is. Not just because the Falcons are falling apart and the Saints are back and forth and the Buccaneers are playing well, and that's a three-way race in its own mindset. But you look at the AFC South. Jacksonville's crumbling. Houston's back and forth. The Colts are coming alive. This is a bigger game for Jacksonville than Tampa Bay. But I think the Buccaneers still pull it out. And look, I mean, I've trashed Baker Mayfield a lot, but he did shut me up last week.
yeah,
And I think he's going to shut up Jacksonville people too. I mean, he had more than 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He went off.
yeah,
I think he's going to go off again. Mike Evans will play a massive role in that yet again. I think Tampa's going to win the game outright, basically because of the offense, based off how good they were last week. And Jacksonville's been really struggling defensively, and Trevor Lawrence has not been the same ever since going down with the injury. On top
yes,
of the fact that Christian Kirk's been out,
yeah,
so all these different pieces have really, really hurt Jacksonville with a Houston team going back and forth, and with the Colts getting hot at the right time with a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew, a former Jacksonville Jaguar. So you see all these things connecting at the right time for all these opposing teams not named Jacksonville, and that includes Tampa Bay. So I think the Buccaneers get right. I think they're going to win this division. I think they're going to win this game, and this victory will bring them one step closer to winning that wide open NFC South. And you know what? Whether they finish 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever the record is, I guarantee they'll get win number 8 versus Jackson.
yeah. I agree. Bucks win this game in my opinion. Like you said, Jacksonville's heavily really missing Christian Kirk right now. Zay Jones got hurt again. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look like himself. I'm gonna say it now. There is some negative cloud of energy or some sort of chaos on Jacksonville. They repeatedly collapse after looking good. How do you go from an 8-3 start to potentially not winning the division?
Well, I mean, you go from that, but Jason, it's not the first time it's happened. That's happened throughout history in the NFL. And the
No, but no, sorry,
one of the
sorry. Potentially not winning the division, but when you're losing these games looking as bad as you have. Sorry,
oh
that's what I
sure.
should say. Sorry, that
No,
is how I should
no,
have worded that.
no. But however you phrase the question's valid because it's happened multiple times before. And one of the more recent examples that stand out to me are the Dolphins a couple years ago when they were 8-3,
That
or
was last year.
actually last year it was.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it was last year. They were 3-0. They were 8-3. They were leading that division. They fell apart. Buffalo came back and won the crown. So look, I mean, things like that happen. And this Jacksonville team, the problem with them is that it's not just one team behind them, it's two teams behind them who are trying to fight for
You
their
very
playoff
rarely
lives
see
and to win
that.
that
Yeah,
division.
you rarely see a three-way tie at this stage of the season in a division.
Well, look, I mean, again, it's just the Jaguars are getting cold at the wrong time. The Colts are getting hot at the right time, and Houston's rocking the boat back and forth.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a mess in Jacksonville because of the injuries and also, some just lots of miscommunication off these injuries. So the injuries play a role, don't get me wrong, but this happens to many teams where one big guy or two big guys, they go down and the rest of the team sinks with them.
Yes. But
So,
this just tends to happen to Jacksonville a lot.
well, I mean, they're the Jets of Florida. Because look, the Jets have sometimes good years and then they fall apart, or they're just horrible to get to begin with. I mean, there are always teams like that have these type of situations happen again and again, or they just stink.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville happens to be a part of the curse that's in this repetitive cycle.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, they're not going to win this game. The Buccaneers will. And honestly, look, maybe this is far fetched or not. I think Jacksonville is going to miss the playoffs. I think that's how bad it's
Yeah.
gotten, and I think it's going to get even worse with a loss this week.
Do you think they
But
might go 8-9?
he might go 8-9. Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, seriously, they could. They're either going to barely get in as that 7 seed, or they miss outright. I don't see them holding on to this division. I thought maybe they'll hold it off, whatever. But I think about it now with the Colts especially. I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts won this division. Houston barely gets in or misses, and Jacksonville barely gets in or misses.
Yeah.
So you're going to see something play out. I think Jacksonville is going to be on the lower end regardless.
Completely agree. We're back to but Baker looking good again, but we'll see how long that lasts. I think
Right.
Baker needs a big game from Mike Evans against Jacksonville. They have a good game. I think they win this. And they get pretty close to locking up that division. I think that division 8 to probably 9 win division winner, probably 9-8, I say.
Well, honestly, if the Colts win that division, they could reach 10.
Yeah, no,
Possible.
100%.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Who
So
knows?
I mean, this is a huge game. This could actually be a pretty fun game to watch.
Yeah.
So, but I will go the Bucks. I don't know what it's gonna be like scoring wise. It could be a close game just because these two teams they can be sloppy. They can. So
I mean, they can't be sloppy, but if Baker somehow plays the way he did last week and Mike Evans really goes off,
yes.
then they're going to win by double digits easily, and they could put up 23 points.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the Buccaneers offense. But what I can tell you is that the Jacksonville defense is not going to be strong.
No, 100% agree. We're moving to what's probably one of the games of the week, the second 425 game. The Cowboys Dolphins. What do you got here?
Well, look, they got embarrassed in Buffalo. And if Dak Prescott doesn't turn the ship around, then they're going to get beaten up by a bunch of Dolphins from Miami. So, look, I'm not sure, how it's going to work out. I think, look, this is also one of these tough games to decide. I think Miami's going to pull away with it slightly, but I look at the Cowboys and look, tough loss to Buffalo. Dak didn't look good.
Yeah.
Cowboys' schedule really, really gets hard from here, and that tough loss in Buffalo starts the difficulty of this schedule. Now, Dallas, I think, is still going to find a way to hold on and win that division, but at the same time, Miami blew a 14-point lead with 3 minutes to go 2 weeks ago, and then they bounced back versus the Jets with a massive win. The Dolphins feel really good right now following that blowout win versus the Jets. So I think that's going to carry on. And, we talked about the run game all year long for Miami, and the passing game for Dallas, obviously, is the key factor. But the thing is, Jalen Ramsey is going to be a guy who could really stand out here. And if Jalen Ramsey shuts down Prescott the way Buffalo shut him down, and this entire Dolphins defense shuts down Dak Prescott, if that happens, then Miami's going to win the game.
Yeah.
It all depends on Dak Prescott. At the same time, Stephon Gilmore, Bland, Micah Parsons, this Dallas defense could really shake up Tua. And
Yeah.
Tua could have a messy day, and this run offense could go nowhere. So it really all depends on which defense is better. But at the same time, it all surrounds around Dak Prescott and how he plays. And honestly, it was not pretty last week. Sure, he'll bounce back. He won't be as terrible, but I don't think it's going to carry in 2 weeks in a row when you're having these two teams that they're facing off against who are still somewhat going back and forth for that AFC East, division crown. So I think Dallas will make a great effort. I think Dak will improve upon his shortcomings last week, but I still think the Dolphins win this game because they'll get enough pressure to Dak Prescott to make him make mistakes.
Yeah, I'm going Dolphins in this one as well, as much as I hate to say it because I don't like the Dolphins. I'm not a Tua fan. I'm not a Cowboys fan either, but I actually would say I prefer the Cowboys over the Dolphins, as crazy as that sounds from a Giants fan. Um, yeah, I just think overall, uh, Dak kind of took a little step back last week. That was just a really, really brutal performance from him. And to be honest, I think the Dolphins could give him trouble. I don't know if you knew this stat, by the way, but Mostert last week has officially reached 20 touchdowns this season.
Wow, I did not know that.
And that is a Dolphins record.
Wow, is it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Not even Larry Zonka had 20 touchdowns in one season?
No. The
Wow.
record was, I believe, 19. He broke it last week.
My guess, Larry Zonka had the record. I could be wrong on that, but that is still insane. Wow. Look, I mean,
And he
again,
still has 3 games left.
that's been the key on offense for the Dolphins, the run game. Now, Tua has had his moments of great moments and bad moments, but regardless, that has been the key factor. And you know
Yeah.
what? I think that's going to really play a factor on top of what I said before on whether or not Dak Prescott plays good or not.
What's crazy is before we move on into to the next game, you remember before this year, Mostert was like, and he was never a bad running back, but he was always like a B-level, middle tier running back.
Mhm.
And now that he's here in Miami, dude, he is doing amazing things with Miami. It is
Well,
incredible.
well, let's not forget about what he did in the 2019 postseason against my Green Bay Packers side.
Yes, yes,
He went off, and he was the sole reason why they won that game by such a large
yes,
margin.
but he was
Defense
not
played
having
well
moments
too,
like
but
he is now.
that's fair. No, no, no. Look. I mean that time in San Fran was just a precursor of what he's doing now this season with the Dolphins. So
Yeah. So yeah, I do think look, CeeDee Lamb, they need a big day from him Pollard, but I don't think they'll get that against the Dolphins. I really don't. I think this will be a shootout game though. I really
yeah,
think so. I think this will be a really, really fun game.
yep.
We move into the last 425 game, a game that we're not gonna cover much. It's just rapid fire on this one. Cardinals Bears. What do you got?
Really, just really a 425 game.
Yeah.
Um. Well, the
Merry
fact that
Christmas
they're
Eve, everybody!
look. I mean, the fact that they're in Arizona, that's why.
It's in Chicago.
But huh?
It's in Chicago.
It's in Chicago and it's a 425 game.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, you would naturally think, all right, Arizona's home, 2-3 hours back. They would play the game in Arizona. The game's in Chicago, and this is a 425 game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Look, at this point, you better have putting Browns Texans at 425. No, seriously. And Houston's an hour
This should
back.
be in the 1 o'clock window when you have
Yeah,
all those other games. Yeah,
exactly. Look,
we have to.
I
These are the
mean,
3 games, and this is one of them. Like
if
that
Chicago
sucks.
doesn't win this game, look, they officially suck. But if they lose this game, then they officially suck. And they should have beaten the Browns.
Yeah,
But Darnell Mooney likes to kick balls instead of catch balls when he tries to catch a
that's
Hail Mary pass from Justin Fields, which was insane when you see that.
yeah.
So I'll give the Bears the benefit of the doubt after that really bad loss. I guarantee they, play decent
What sucks for the
overall, but really
Bears is if they
losses
win that, they
in
have
LA.
a. What sucks is if the Bears win that, they have a genuine chance of making the playoffs.
Not a genuine chance, more of a slim chance.
Yeah,
If they won last week, then we'd be having a different conversation. But with the if the Bears get the 6-9, then potentially. Very
yeah,
slim. I still think they miss completely, but potentially.
yeah.
And if you're Justin Fields, who I think they should keep no matter what, I think they shouldn't draft a
I've
quarterback,
seen
Caleb
some
Williams,
growth in him
whoever.
lately. Yeah, there's been
Look,
growth.
yeah, Justin Fields is going to have to fight so hard to keep his spot there. And look, I can't stand the Bears, but Justin Fields should be the quarterback there. And Justin Fields has had an overall decent, good season. He's really improved. And last year he was good. And yeah, he had his shakeups to kick off the year, but I'd say overall, pretty good, especially coming back from the injury.
Yeah,
So I look at this Bears team. You're at home. Cardinals stink. You suck. but you
Yeah.
don't officially suck. If you lose this game, you officially suck. So for your pride and for your sanity, win
And
this
so for the
game.
sake of the franchise, yeah.
I think for the sake of the city of Chicago, please win this game.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah. I
Look,
think they win
Kyler
this.
Murray is going to play well, but Justin Fields has to outperform him, especially if he wants to keep his job there. Now, maybe he wants to leave. And you know what? That could be the best thing for the Bears. Or really the best thing for Justin Fields if he leaves.
Yeah.
Because they would draft Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But for Justin Fields right now, he's still a Bear, and you want to go out swinging. So I think he'll play good. I think they'll beat Arizona.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Arizona, I don't know if you realize this, they put up 29 against the Niners last week.
No, they did. Look. I mean, Arizona is not a good team, but they have had really good glimpses of their offense. I mean, heck, they've put up 20 points in multiple games this year. Guaranteed they lost to San Fran both times, but the first time in San Francisco, sure they lost by 19, but in the first three quarters, they were down by 7.
Yeah.
So they have really
They've been
played
in a lot of games
competitive.
this year.
They have. They have played lots of competitive football, despite them only having 3 wins this year. So with that in mind, Arizona is still, showing some potential and some growth,
Yeah.
even though overall they're not a good team.
Yeah.
So they could win, which wouldn't be that big of a shock. But the Bears, for their sake, don't want to officially suck.
Yeah.
So for the Bears, you officially suck, but don't officially suck. Win this game. I think they
Yeah.
will.
No,
So
completely agree. We move in to uh the worst Christmas Eve football game I've ever seen. Have you seen this yet? What this game is?
I don't think I have on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, this is how we get to celebrate at Christmas Eve. Thank God me and my family are going out to me, my family and Danny are going out to dinner, and then we're going out east for a little bit, so we don't gotta watch this one. We're not gonna cover this too much. Patriots Broncos.
This is the Sunday night game.
Christmas Eve! Woohoo!
Thank goodness I'm going to family friends in Queens and they're Italian, so we just eat food the entire night till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be eating my food till 3 o'clock in the entire morning, watching The Godfather and not watching this game. So, I know I have to choose a team, and I'm going to choose the Denver Broncos because if the Denver Broncos lose this
They're
game,
done. They're done.
I mean, I think they're done. Period. But you
They
go
are a
on,
game out.
yes, but again, look at these other teams. With that bad
They're not.
loss
That's gonna be
setback
hard
to
to pass them.
Detroit,
Yeah.
it's hard. But if you lose to New England, you're just like Pittsburgh. You stink. And on top of it, with Denver, what makes it worse is that you start 1-5, you win 5 straight, you get to 7-6, you're now at 7-7,
Yeah.
and if you lose to the Patriots, you're 7-8, and your season's over. Is that how you want to end your season?
No. No.
So I'll choose Denver. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because the Patriots are horrific, but I will be watching The Godfather instead of watching this game.
Yes. Must win for the Broncos. Patriots are just a disaster. I wonder, if they're eventually gonna have a break point with Bill Belichick, or we'll see. He's washed
Look,
up.
I mean, again, they're not going to fire him. They're going to force him to resign. They're going to cut him loose that way, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
It
honestly,
would leave
that
a
might
bad taste in
start.
a sour taste in everyone's mouth if they fired Bill Belichick.
Oh, of
Yes.
course, but that might start if they fire him as the general manager, not as the head coach, as the GM.
Yeah.
If you fire him as the GM, then you push him away in a respectable way from the head coaching job.
Yep.
But it probably wouldn't get much better because Bill O'Brien would be the bench boss, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't let Bill O'Brien watch a cat. So, yeah, I mean, it just gets worse and worse regardless. So whether you get Bill O'Brien or not, Patriots stink. Bill Belichick should leave, should be forced out, should not be fired, should be forced to resign, not fired. And with that in mind, I think the Patriots will just lose, and the
Yeah.
Broncos should win. If they
Yeah.
don't, then their entire run is all in vain.
Yeah, this is one of my first times not watching Sunday Night Football in a while, but yeah, Broncos win this. It's gonna be an ugly one, a very forgettable Christmas Eve. So, yeah. But let's move on to Christmas Day football. 1 o'clock game. Raiders, Chiefs. What do you got here?
Look, last time these two teams played, it was actually pretty close. But KC, look, they're not great. They're good enough, but to their standards, they're having a bad year, especially after winning the Super Bowl one season
5
ago.
losses is insane for them.
It is insane. And they're nowhere close to being the one seed. They're going to be the three at most. So I think they're going to win this game because of how bad the Raiders are. I mean, the Raiders are just pathetic. And the reason why they put up 63 points was because they played the Chargers. But when they couldn't put up any points and lost 3-0 to Minnesota, that shows how bad they really are. And
Yeah,
this is a team, of course, the Packers lost to. So
yeah.
that tells you a lot as well. So I think KC is going to win outright. There's not much to talk about on this. I think Mahomes will play all right. I think Kelsey will have a touchdown. I think the offense will be good enough. They won't be great, but they'll be decent enough to win them the game. Casey's defense has been really good in many situations this year. I think that's going
Except
to show
against you
again.
guys. You guys
Yes,
obliterated their
they
defense.
they did struggle versus Green Bay, but throughout the season they've had a pretty good defensive showing this
Yeah.
year at Kansas City. So I think that's going to carry them over the hump again versus Las Vegas. That was the difference in their first meeting in Nevada, but this time being at Arrowhead, I think they'll pull it out outright, and that's mainly going to be because of Chris Jones and this defense getting so much pressure to Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
So KC wins, not a pretty win, but they'll win.
Yeah. KC wins. Another loss closer to the eventual ask out of Devontae Adams, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I don't see it not happening after the season. I really don't. There's look, I'd probably say there's an 80% chance he will ask out.
I would say more. I'd say 95 on the dot.
You think?
Well, look, I mean, Carr's not there. He's stuck
The
there.
two
He's not
quarterbacks he was
happy there.
expected to work with have been benched, and now one's
Right.
gone. Yeah.
Right. Garoppolo's been benched. Their offense is pathetic. He should have been traded to the Jets, but the Raiders sabotaged that trade. He's mad.
Just shows they're a classless organization
Not
because
I
they're
mean,
wasting him.
not just classless, they're a clown show. Al Davis is spinning in his grave. Literally, he is. So Devontae Adams is going to walk out as fast as possible. So when that happens, exactly who knows? He's gone. He's gone. There is no way you bring him back unless a miracle of God touches the Las Vegas Raiders. Devontae Adams is gone.
We've seen that's not happening anytime. They're not getting any luck. That's continued stupid after stupid mistakes from them. So I think that continues. Again, Pat Mahomes games. Never pretty. Never
Especially
ever
this
pretty.
year. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
It's very ugly. We've said it before many times on here almost every week. He's struggling to make a play and he randomly throws some side throw that gets to a receiver. It's just some random stuff. The one thing I will say for them is in the decline of Travis Kelsey, Rice has stepped up very well for them.
Well, sure, but Kadarius Toney can't determine where the offsides line is and where it isn't. So
Yeah, and he's got those butterfingers.
I mean, I mean, if I play with Kadarius Toney this year, I see Pat Mahomes' reason for having a complete meltdown. I can't blame the guy. I
Yeah,
mean, I would throw a hissy fit if I lost a whole bunch of money on tickets to a football game. Pat Mahomes has a hissy fit when his wide receiver goes off sides and can't catch balls. I think that tells you a lot right there. So, look, I mean, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be an ugly game. But KC's been ugly all year, and they still have 8 wins. They'll get win number 9.
I think they. Hold on a minute. Let me clarify on that. They are 9-5, by the way.
Okay, so then they'll get win number 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to confirm on that. But yeah. Look, I think after the season, last thing I'll say on this, Kadarius Toney might not be a chief after this year.
I think Kadarius Toney might get banned from the state of Missouri when the
Yeah.
season comes to a
Yeah.
close
Yeah. Yeah.
with how
So
bad he's playing.
it's been a disaster. So, um, yeah, that was a good move by the Giants getting rid of him. Because you look at their receivers now, Hodgins, what's his name? Wan'Dale Robinson. They got some good pieces. They just need that one elite receiver and a
Right.
quarterback. So, but Yeah, Chiefs win this game. And speaking of the Giants, we move on to a game that honestly, I don't know why. It sounds crazy, but I could see the Giants stealing. We got Giants Eagles. What do you got? The Giants defense has been much improved lately, and Jalen Hurts is making a lot of mistakes. What do you got here?
Philadelphia's been a mess. I mean, the way that they've lost three straight in the most embarrassing and the most ugly fashion. I don't know if the Eagles are going to win this game. I really don't know. And I think this game's in Philly.
Yes.
Okay. So then they got one more duel at MetLife to end the season.
Tommy DeVito.
Look, I mean, honestly, look, they got killed in New Orleans, but Tommy DeVito has actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
He won three straight.
If we only win one of these games, I'd like it to be the MetLife one though, so our season doesn't end embarrassingly. But we'll
Well,
see.
well, look, I mean, if you somehow season sweep Philadelphia, that would be insane. Now, I don't think that would be enough for the Giants to make the playoffs, but
They'd have to beat the Rams too, yeah.
that would be a real dagger in the heart to the Eagles.
Yeah.
I cannot confidently say the Eagles are going to win this
Who
game.
would have thought you'd say you can't confidently say the Eagles are going to beat the Giants?
I know, but look at the past 3 weeks, Jason.
They just
It
lost
speaks
to
for
Drew
itself.
Lock.
They just lost to Drew Lock, and with 6 seconds to go in the game, Jalen Hurts threw a bomb pick down the field. Horrific pass. Julian Love had a remarkable pick off it, though. You know, the way he was able to tiptoe in bounds. But Jalen Hurts is really melting away. This offense is melting away. This defense is so injury prone. They're banged up with the injuries already. And with the injuries, their defense is getting so much worse.
Yeah.
And the Giants aren't much better, but you did say a fact earlier. The Giants defense has played a lot better recently.
Yes.
And Tommy DeVito's not Joe Montana, but Tommy DeVito's playing good enough
Tom
football.
Brady. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Tommy DeVito's playing good enough football to win 3 games at least as the quarterback for the New York Giants.
Yeah, which is more than you would have expected.
Exactly. So Tommy Cutlets is really having a really good time right now with his mama's chicken cutlets and chicken marsala and whatever else she makes for him. But you know what? I think Tommy's gonna have a nice
chicken
Christmas
cutlets,
present.
That's what happened. He didn't have chicken cutlets last week. He's like Popeye. The chicken cutlets are like his spinach.
Well, look, I'm telling you, he's going to have a special Christmas breakfast with a bunch of chicken cutlets, bacon, eggs, everything. He's going to play phenomenal
for breakfast. That's wild. But
well, knowing him, that'll somehow happen. I mean, sure, the game's at 4:25, but you don't want to eat at least a couple hours before. Eat something at breakfast to be in shape then. But the point is, I think he's going to have a very nice Christmas breakfast. He'll get a whole bunch of presents. He'll get a new lesson how to make his own bed. And after he plays phenomenal against the Eagles, he's going to get more chicken cutlets. He's going to get a specific, unique Christmas gift. And on top of that, he's going to watch a rerun of The Godfather to show that he's really boss. Yeah. So,
practicing his touchdown dance.
Yes, exactly. Right. That's right, baby. That's right. So, look, at the end of the day, I'm crazy to say this. And I can't believe I'm saying these words, especially with Tommy DeVito as the quarterback. The Giants are going to win on Christmas.
Oh, my God. It's a Christmas miracle.
The Giants are going to beat the Eagles on Christmas. Jalen Hurts is going to make another costly mistake sometime in the fourth quarter. Tommy DeVito is going to lead a game-winning drive. And at the end of the day, Tommy DeVito, Johnny Fontaine, his agent, his Italian family, everyone's going to be thrilled. And they're going to make him the dom. Yeah. So the Giants win. DeVito wins. Philadelphia is going to lose again. And the fact that they won from 10-1, they're now 10-4, and they could be 10-5.
Yes.
And honestly, could somehow finish maybe 10-7 or at least 11-6.
I don't know if 10-7. I don't know if you know who they play next.
I don't know if 10-7 either. But
you do know who they play next week, right?
I know they play Arizona and they play the Giants.
Although
But
that defense right now with the injuries could get torched by Arizona, who just put up 49 against an amazing Niners defense.
so look, anything's possible. And
That's why they
especially
play
when
the games.
right. And especially when Tommy DeVito's the quarterback and Johnny Fontaine's pulling the strings.
Yeah.
The Giants got it. I mean, heck, they whacked Green Bay. They're gonna whack Philadelphia.
I think, hey, we
Why
got
not?
these random people coming in as quarterback that we know nothing about. Next year, let's sign a Randy Marsh lookalike as that quarterback and bring in a Randy Marsh. Let's find some Randy Marsh off the streets. Let's keep it going, Giants, with the random
Look,
guys off the street.
I mean, at this point, and this is a serious point I'm bringing up. You no. You need to have a serious conversation
What to
about
do
who
with?
your quarterback is next year.
Well, he's been much better than Daniel Jones.
And honestly, you're gonna have to have a serious conversation about that. Whether it's funny and humorous and gimmicky or whatever, this is Tommy DeVito your quarterback next year.
Eh,
And right now, it's early, but right now, it also depends how he finishes the season. But right now, I'd say yes.
yeah.
I would say
You have to
yes.
at least have him on the roster ready to go if Daniel Jones collapses.
Not just collapses if he's not even healthy by
True,
next year.
yeah, because the ACL, you're right. You're right.
So Tommy DeVito is going to be the quarterback next year. This is not just a short run with Tommy DeVito. This is going to be a long-term thing for a couple of years. And it's just getting started now. And I'm telling you, Tommy's going to play a good game on Christmas. He's going to have that chicken cutlet power in him. And he's going to play so good
Yes.
that the Giants will beat the Eagles.
If Tommy DeVito ever gets the Giants to the playoffs, New York is going to go insane.
Look,
The Italians of New York are going to go wild.
no, I'm telling you, they will make him the Don. He will be the Don of New York City if
Yeah.
they make the playoffs.
Yep.
He will be.
100%. But yes, I actually think Giants pull this out. I have no faith in the Eagles right now. As crazy as that is to
Yeah.
say. Eagles are going to go from 10-1 to a wild card team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so pathetic. You said
Even
this.
even if Dallas loses this week,
Yeah.
that's still gonna happen.
Yeah. Dude, you said this happens, and this happens with teams collapsing at times. But you can't go from 10-1 to potentially being a wild card team. That's
Oh, I know.
inexcusable. That is
Mm-hmm.
inexcusable.
Right.
I'm gonna say it now. We are getting a Ravens Niners Super Bowl.
I agree with you, and that's the Christmas night matchup.
Yep, and yeah. So let's move into the Christmas night matchup. Preview of what could be the Super Bowl. We end Christmas night much better than we end Christmas Eve.
Yes.
So we got Ravens Niners. Who do you got here?
This is first off, this is going to be an awesome game, and I agree. I think this will be the Super Bowl. We're getting the blackout part 2.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, with this preview of that potential blackout part 2, give me the Niners. They're the better team. Brock Purdy is an MVP candidate. Christian McCaffrey is an MVP candidate. He's the best running back in football. San Francisco has the deadliest offense in the entire National Football League.
Yeah.
And their defense guaranteed gave up 20-something points, 29 points to Arizona last week. Still one of the best defenses in football. They are unstoppable.
Yep.
At the same time, Lamar Jackson's playing great. Ravens defense is insane. But here's the catch. The game's in San Francisco. And Baltimore is a good, very good team. But
It's
San
hard to
Francisco
play in San Fran.
is very tough to play in Frisco, and San Francisco is a very good home team. So put 2 and 2 together, you get 4. And I'm telling you, San Francisco, I think, is going to win. But it's going to be a close game. That's going to be a really fun game. And honestly, that might be the game of the year with
Yeah.
how good that game is supposed to be. So
The
give
one
me
thing
San
that
Francisco
scares
by a
me.
small margin. But I think Brock Purdy goes off with 4 touchdowns again. McCaffrey has 2 touchdowns. I think George Kittle gets involved. Samuel, Ayuk, the whole squad. It's an offensive showdown. And then the 2 Buckeyes, former Buckeyes, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, have a field day against Lamar Jackson. And look, I think the Ravens will make it close and competitive. Their defense is very good too. But this offense does not compare to anything else.
Yeah.
San Fran's got it. The 49ers are going to win this game. No
Yeah.
question.
Look, the one thing that scares me is there's been multiple points, and I've seen people talking about it on social media too, that there's been a lot of games that we thought were going to be potential game of the year matchups, and they've really disappointed some of those
Yeah,
this year.
that's
So
true.
I really hope that this does not fall into that category again. I hope this really lives up to the expectations and it's a really big game, especially with the possibility of this being a Super Bowl matchup.
Right.
Um, We'll see. The one thing I will say for the Ravens, I don't know if you saw, the Ravens got some sort of chaos with their running backs. That what's his name? I believe Mitchell, whatever the new running back,
Yeah.
that kid who's been really impressed, and
He
everyone
got
got
hurt.
hurt again. Yeah,
I know. Well, look, you know what? You still ride the Gus bus. And Gus Edwards has been really good.
and
And
Justice Hill's been decent.
look, I mean, even with the injuries, the run game is still working for Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson's not running as much, but he still is that running threat quarterback. His
Yes,
passing game has gotten so much better this year.
yes. Do you think him running less has to do with the injuries he's been dealing with over the years?
Yes, I would. And honestly, the fact that he's passing more is what you want from him to begin with. Sure, they still don't have
Oh yes, you're
superstar.
right. There's always been that talk of he's not much of a quarterback. He's
Right,
more of a running back. So he's
right.
finally proven that point. Yes.
Well, that and also look, I mean, he's got Mark Andrews and a washed up OBJ, but
Not
you
even
know,
Andrews is hurt.
yeah, I know he's been hurt, but regardless, he's getting some use from his targets. Zay Flowers has been a great addition for this team for Baltimore. And on top of that, I mean, if they had one or two more receivers who were really, really solid, then this offensive matchup looks a little different. But regardless, Baltimore's a good team. Fran is just better.
Yeah.
I think
Completely
they're
agree.
better, and they're gonna win.
Yeah.
So
This will be interesting.
yeah.
And I'm very curious to see how this really good Ravens defense does against McCaffrey.
Well, that, but also I'm curious to see how Brock Purdy plays. I'm
Yes.
really curious to see what he puts out there. Now, look, maybe he throws 4 touchdowns, maybe not. This will be a challenge, but I think Purdy's up for it. And Purdy is a good enough quarterback when it comes to the system he's in. He knows
Yes.
the system. He plays well in the system with all the weapons he has. He knows his players, he knows his receivers, he knows when to find them at the right time. No matter how good the opposing defense is, Brock Purdy knows how to find his men. And he's going to do that in this win for Frisco on Christmas Day.
Yep. No, 100%. Like we said, definitely a game I can see being the Super Bowl. I think very likely. We know how it is. The Dolphins typically collapse at some point. They'll have to play a game maybe in colder weather and they'll collapse or something like that. Um, Eagles, I think we've lost all faith in the Eagles. We know how the Cowboys turn out in the playoffs every year. We've already seen it. We saw praising Dak Prescott and then he craps the bed last week. So, look, this is a good week 16 and it is a good Christmas weekend of games. Obviously, besides Christmas Eve being a little disappointing for the night game. Well, the last two games of Christmas Eve, actually, the 4:25 game and the 8:15.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the most part, it's actually a very good week of football. Teams trying to solidify their playoff spots. I'm assuming there's a couple clinching scenarios. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm sure if the Lions win, I'm assuming they clinch the division.
I guess. I don't know. But I think by next week, they will definitely have that division locked up, no matter what people say.
Yes.
They're,
So
they're
there
going to
is
win that
some,
division.
the rest of the race between the Jaguars, the Colts, Texans is going to be interesting. What happens with the Cowboys and Eagles? This is very interesting. There's so many potential opportunities for these division leaders to change in these next 3 weeks. You don't see that too much. It is really interesting and it is a really fun part of the year. This is, crunch time of football for some of these teams. We see what these teams are made of, see what they can do, and the teams that are going to make the playoffs, I think, are going to step up, and the teams that aren't are going to kind of go back down a little bit, like, the Steelers have. Could see the same for the Texans. So we'll see. But it looks like a really good week of football. Thank you guys so much for watching that NFL Week 16 prediction video, guys. If you guys are new here, drop a sub. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. Also, drop a comment with your guys' predictions for Week 16, guys. We are in the final 3 weeks of the season, guys, before we get to playoffs. So the season really has been flying by. It's absolutely insane to me. Guys, other thing, we have another video coming out soon that's not really exactly like this podcast, but if you guys are interested in hearing our opinions about the NFL power rankings 1 through 7 in each conference, where we see each team finishing, that's gonna get posted soon as well. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out, YouTube. See you in the next one.